We have quorum, so just give us about 30 seconds to put the YouTube feed on.
Okay. Peter, I don't want any problems out of you today.
I'll be a good boy.
All right.
I'll take the lead from you, Mark. How's that?
Same with Councillor Holiday there too. He looks like he's in a
It's the boys of
confrontational
Etobicoke,
mood.
Councillor.
Mr. Chair, the YouTube feed is live, so you can proceed as soon as you're ready.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Councillor Mark Grimes. I'm the chair of the Board of Governors at Exhibition Place. The clerk has confirmed we have quorum, so I'd like to now call this special meeting 12 to order. Welcome, everyone. This meeting is being held by the city's WebEx technology with members of staff connecting by video conference or calling in. Because we are meeting remotely, we ask for your patience with any delays or technical issues. Members of the public can observe the meeting on YouTube. I would like to request that staff keep their video turned off unless they need to speak or answer questions. This will make it easier for me as chair or for those who are watching on YouTube to observe members as they participate in the debate on each item during the votes. I also ask that members of staff keep their microphones on mute unless you need to answer a question or speak. If any members do wish to speak on an item, please make sure your video is on and raise your hand or unmute your mic and indicate your intention to speak, and I will create a speakers list. When voting, I ask members make sure that your video is turned on and raise your hands and indicate your vote. Members want to remind you, although we are participating remotely, you must still submit your motion in writing to the clerk. The clerk staff are available by email at epb@toronto.ca. Although we are meeting remotely, the Board of Governors of Exhibition Place acknowledges the land we are meeting on is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. It is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? If you have an interest, please raise your hand and unmute your mic. Seeing none, we now have one item on this agenda, 12.1, one-year extension of electronic meeting rules. Maybe just ask the clerk if they just maybe just a quick update what we're doing here.
Mr. Chair, this is a new procedure bylaw amendment that's required. The provincial legislation changed in late July, so the previous procedure bylaw amendment was no longer in effect, and this is a requirement for all boards to update their procedures again, to continue to allow the electronic meetings for 1 year past the emergency declaration by the city, the municipal emergency declaration. Hope that made sense. We've displayed the recommendation on the screen.
Thank you, Carol. Does anyone have any questions of staff? Seeing none, anyone like to speak on the item?
No.
Seeing none, the motion is on the screen. I'll move the recommendation. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That carries. Now, this concludes the business of this agenda. The special meeting is now adjourned. And we'll move on to the next meeting.
The YouTube feed will be live just for a few minutes, and then we'll pause it until we reach 9:30 and start the second meeting.
Okay. So we got 5 minutes to wait, right?
Yes.
And Carol's going to make me read the whole thing out again, guys. So I asked her this morning, do you have to read? She goes, yeah, you have to read it again. So
We.
Okay, Mr. Chair, you may begin. We're live.
Thank you, Carol. Hello, everyone. My name is Councillor Mark Grimes. Now we have a special meeting is over, and my dog is barking. Now our special meeting is over. The clerk has confirmed we have quorum. I'd like to call meeting 13 of the Board of Governors of Exhibition Place to order. Welcome, everyone. As was in the case in our special meeting, this meeting is being held by using the city's WebEx technology, with members and staff connecting by video conference or calling in. We ask for your patience with any delays of technical issues. Members of the public, you can observe the meeting on YouTube A few reminders. Staff, please keep your video turned off unless you need to speak or answer questions. This makes it easy for me as chair and those watching on YouTube to observe members as they participate in the debate on each item and during votes. Members of staff, please keep your microphones on mute unless you need to answer our question or speak. Members, if you wish to speak on an item, please make sure your video is on and raise your hand or unmute your mic. Let me know and I will create a speakers list. When voting, make sure that your video is turned on and raise your hands to indicate your vote. Although we are participating remotely, members, you must still submit your motions in writing to the clerk. The clerk staff are available by email at epb@toronto.ca. Although we are in a different location and meeting remotely today, the committee would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, Métis peoples. We acknowledge the land is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Are there any declarations of interest of the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? If you have an interest, please raise your hand and unmute your mic. Seeing none, now we next need a motion to confirm the minutes from the special meeting, regular meeting held on June 24th, 2020, moved by Deputy Mayor Holliday. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. And we'll now go through the items. Just before we do that, we got our Commander-in-Chief. Is Don, you on the call here? Don?
Yeah, yes, I am.
Yeah, just for the benefit of, we haven't been getting together often, so just for the benefit of the board, can you let us know what actions we're preparing to open once the province gives us the go-ahead? What are we doing on the proof of larger gatherings? Where are we with that, and what's our plan?
Thank you, Chair. Through the Chair, staff at Expedition Place have been actually busier than ever. Given the fact there's not much business taking place on the grounds, staff have been really hard at work addressing and developing plans to be able to address COVID-19. We have developed a very comprehensive safe reopening plan that we've had reviewed by the Associate Medical Officer of Health of Toronto, who is extremely supportive of the plan and in fact has been advocating on our behalf with her provincial colleagues. And so we're very, very pleased about that. It speaks to all aspects of the plan, from a visitor's first experience to the site, to them exiting, as well as staff. And so we continue to push that with the province and those officials so that we're prepared, given the fact that in our business, the timeline for major events that take place is a 4 or 5 month lag time for them to prep. And so as soon as we can get the go-ahead to move forward, it's essential that we're ready to be able to jump off from that. As well, GBAC is a Global Biorisk Advisory Council, and we've received their international certification at Exhibition Place. And so this is a comparable program that you might be familiar with, an ICO standard that sets cleaning standards for disinfection and infectious disease prevention programs. And so we've now achieved that certification and have been training staff with all those protocols. And so we're ready to take on that, and staff have been working on that diligently over the past several months. We've also developed staff training protocols addressing the issues posed by COVID-19. And this includes decision trees for managing COVID-19 operational issues and communications. As you can be well aware, a setting of Exhibition Place, as complex as it is, the communications that are necessary given the issues posed by COVID-19 are very complex, and we've developed a very stringent decision tree protocol to assist staff throughout the organization. In addition to that, internally with our staff on site, we've developed training videos to guide staff on protocols for entering the site, all the protocols for working within the site, and those measures for handling transactions in our parking venues, And this is as amazing in the technology and Apple phones these days of what you can do, but we've done a very, very high quality set of video training videos for the staff, and this was all done internally. So very, very pleased with that. We also are participating as a board member of Destination Toronto, and with Laura Purdy, who's on the executive of the Canadian Association of Exhibition Management, are working with our protocols and our safe reopening plan. They've actually adopted much what was in that plan on a national basis, and we continue to advocate as part of those organizations. We're working with our tenants and clients. We know that we have to be able to be in a position to assist our clients and big show operators as they move forward. It will be a new reality, and so we need to be able to add extra benefits to their operations to ensure that we have a safe and welcoming atmosphere at Exhibition Place. So lots of work taking place. In addition to that, we've done some minor reorg within the operations, creating greater efficiencies and streamlining our operations. So very pleased with the efforts. So thank you very much for asking about that.
Great, thank you, Don. And I'm just going to share a little story with the board. I was at the Home Depot earlier this week, and a gentleman came up to me and said he recognized me and said he worked for us at Exhibition Place. And he went on to say, Don, that you're the best boss he's ever worked for. He was just thrilled you were there, and he was relaying to you what a great job you're doing. But he said you're the best boss he ever had. I thought that was worth sharing with our board. So congratulations. Okay, we'll now go through the items. 13.1, Occupational Health and Safety Report, second quarter 2020. Councillor Hawley, going to move that? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 13.2, Exhibition Place Financial Report, second quarter, June 30th, 2020.
Chair, I'd like to have some questions on that, okay?
Okay, we're going to hold that down, Peter. 13.3, hang on here. Lakeshore Billboard Sign Agreement, Branded Cities.
Could we hold that? Could we hold that down?
We're gonna hold that down. 13.3. 13.4, Toronto Fashion Incubator Lease.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Leon. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 13.5, Exhibition Place Hotel X Development Phase 2 lands. I'd like to hold that down in my name. 13.5. 13.6, Exhibition Place Management Report, second quarter 2020. Moved by Deputy Mayor Holliday. Sorry?
Hold to.
Hold 13.6. .7, lease agreement with the Horse Palace, 12 West Pedestrian.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Leon. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, we'll go back to 13.2, Exhibition Place Financial Report, second quarter, Q2, June 30th, 2020. Questions of staff. Mr. Leon.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I understand that utility bills cannot be paid by a tenant, and I'm wondering if that is correct. Utility bills like water and hydro and so forth. Could staff answer that for me, please?
Mr. Chair, the utility bills come from the City Revenue Department directly to the owner of the property, Exhibition Place.
Okay. We do, however, we do pay the city taxes on behalf of the tenants and collect the monies. Would staff advise that that is correct?
Yes.
Okay. And would staff agree that these payments take 60 days or more to be paid by, once we pay them at Exhibition Place, it takes 60 days or more thereabouts to get the money back from the tenants? Would that be correct?
Mr. Chair, in the past, working with the tenants, most of them will pay their property tax on a timely basis, I'll say within 30 days. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic this year, payment have been a lot slower in coming in. But we continue
I noticed that from the reports, okay. And has staff ever considered that property taxes might be paid directly, that property taxes be paid directly to the city by the tenants in any way?
Mr. Chair, in the past we had worked with the City of Toronto Revenue Department to look into the possibility whether the city will invoice each tenant individually. Unfortunately, no, because Exhibition Place is the owner or the landlord, and we have the PIN and roll number in our name. The billing comes to us directly. On the other hand, the city is unlikely to get in such a practice because they will have to bill hundreds and possibly all of thousands if the city was to take that action to invoice individual tenants. So that's unlikely to happen. Yeah.
Okay, along that line, we have a number of permanent tenants on ground, and would they not be qualifying for direct billing by the city, or would it be worth looking into?
They will not be qualified because they don't have a separate PIN or roll number under the for property tax. It's under one roll under Exhibition Place. Yeah.
So then we would pay all the taxes, and then we have to collect them and use our money to wait for it.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, yes, that's correct. We will get one bill, and then we will back charge each and every tenant and their proportionate share and collect, yes.
I think you know where I'm coming, Hardad, because I see the money's owing to us all the time when I go over the reports that we have in front of us today. And I'm wondering if it's worth going back to the city and pursuing this on the basis of some of the permanent tenants that we have to see if they could be billed directly.
Mr. Chair, but we did this very recently. We did this actually last year with working with City Revenue and Impact. Yeah. And we did it last year because at the same time we were looking into property tax for the hotel. They were a new tenant, obviously, so that's when it came up. Yeah.
I understand Hotel X is being billed directly right now.
Yeah, there was they had a separate PIN number because on that parcel of land it was allowed to be separated. Right. Yeah.
Okay. In that regard, we have other, I would say, permanent tenants. For example, medieval times and places like that. Could this not be looked into to see if we might have them billed directly, those types of tenants? The larger ones, the ones who are there all the time.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, yes, we have to look for the other tenants, whether they could get a separate PIN number, and unfortunately, no.
So I didn't quite get that, or that we've already looked into it, or could I move a motion?
Yeah, we have already looked into this matter, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've asked my questions.
Thank you. Any further questions of staff? Councillor Holiday?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I think it's just a technical one. Without disclosing the contents of in-camera components, I know that we examined charts which show accounts receivable over time. And I wondered if management was able to prepare an expanded report in the future which would show a larger time frame. And in particular, I think it would be helpful if the board could understand accounts receivable which were prior to the declaration of an emergency, if there are any, I don't know, and versus things that have occurred during the COVID-19 period, because I think that's a relevant data point in us understanding the financial picture. And, I hopefully don't need to make a motion or anything, and if staff could consent or agree that that type of thing was possible, and hopefully my fellow board members would find that of value, and that hopefully it's not a whole lot of work.
Yeah, so through the chair, we will add that on our report next. We should be able to get it for next meeting. We have the information, so we'll include an expanded version of that for the board for their information. As well, I think it's important to note at this point that one of the things in my observations during this first year is that Exhibition Place, I describe it as we're in everybody's kitchen. On the site, and it comes with respect to not only utility bills and taxes, but it comes to the services, whether it's 506 IATSE within them. We're in the middle of these agreements because there's a broad agreement for the entire grounds, and yet the services and the work is taking place on our tenanted properties. and we're responsible for the payment of it, and also for the labor relations of it and the activities of it, and yet we're not in their facilities. And so certainly as we move forward, and I have talked to the president of IATSE, Justin, on the possibility of looking at perhaps agreements with each of the tenants in some cases for his members, and with agreements that really speak to the specific of their operations, so that Exhibition Place can exit out of those operations. And so that's going to be a big push for us as we move forward into 2021, and we're already preparing that plan of action so that we're not in people's kitchens and they're able to manage their own affairs and reduce our liability.
Chair, can I ask a question?
Yes, you can. Oh, sorry, Councillor Haldy, you finished?
I am, Mr. Chair. Thank you. May I just note on a point of privilege, actually, I'm having a bit of technical issue this morning, so if you could just be patient with me in case I disappear, I'll be right back.
And one sec, Howard. Can people keep their mics on mute if you're not speaking, please? We've got a little background noise, so just a reminder, if you're not speaking, please keep it on mute. Howard, questions of staff?
Yeah, the question to the staff, I understand it's a difficult. Obviously, the amount of accounts receivables that are out there are exaggerated due to the situation that we're in. But it's very difficult from a board perspective to understand, how much of it is truly collectible versus not collectible. I know that's difficult for the staff as well, but I don't have a comfort level on the amount of risk in terms of the receivables. Is there any way, even if it's in camera at some point in time, to have a better understanding of where we are financially from a risk perspective and non-collectibles?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we certainly could bring a report with an expanded information to address the member question. Yeah, we could certainly do that. At this point in time, it's very difficult because of the pandemic situation to quantify, but we could bring a report where we will assess, given the history with each tenant, on the amount collectible between now and the end of the year. Yes.
Okay, Howard, you're good?
Yes, thank you. But my comments were not just to tenants. There's other people who owe us money in terms of shows or whatever, so I just would expand. Otherwise, thank you very kindly.
Any other further questions of staff? Speakers to the item? Mr. Leon, are you prepared to move the recommendation to receive the report? Peter? Deputy Mayor Haldy, can you move the report? Oh, Peter, you there?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Leon's moving receipt. All in favor?
It's actually,
Opposed? Carried. And listen, I had some technical difficulties. We didn't go through items 8 to 11, so I'm going to go through those now just before we go to our next item. 13.8, 2020 operating budget financial impact update due to COVID-19.
So,
All in
Mr.
favor?
Chair, may I ask a question on that?
Okay, we're going to hold that down. 13.8. 13.9 management and non-union employees benefit plan amendments.
Hold.
I'll hold on Peter's name.
Thank you.
1310 security group wages market analysis and implementation plan. Moved by Deputy Mayor Haldy. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And last but not least, 1311 multi-year agreement with Green Savvy Toronto, ULC, and Honda Indy at Exhibition Place.
Question of staff.
Questions of staff? Okay. All right, we'll go back to 13.3. Councillor Cressy, you held the item. Questions of staff on the Lakeshore billboard sign amendment, Brandon Cities.
Chair, so I just have a few questions, if that's okay.
Yep, the floor is yours.
So we have staff here from the city on the signs unit. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think Ted Van Fleet, he should be on the call. Ted, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you.
Oh, hi, Ted. So just a couple of very quick ones, Ted. So the proposal that the board is considering here is to replace 2 static signs with digital signs. Is that correct?
From what we've seen of it, yes, that's correct.
Now, you work in your unit, you would receive a formal application. So you have not yet received a formal application. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Would digital signs in this location be permitted as of right by the city?
No, Mr. Chair, they wouldn't be permitted as of right, so council will ultimately have to make a decision on whether the signs can be allowed or not.
And in this location, would the digital signs be facing towards a public park?
It's difficult to say. Again, we haven't seen a detailed application. So I think they are likely to be visible, but to what extent, we're not entirely sure at this point.
Okay. Those are all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions of staff?
One question for me, Mr. Chairman, if I may, to staff. Ted, are these signs, as I read them in the report that we had, are they removed from the residential areas completely and more to the traffic areas that travel along the lakeshore?
Again, based on the preliminary information we have on the signs, they're on the southern end of Exhibition Place, so they wouldn't be visible to the residential on the north end.
Thank you.
Any further questions? I'll have a question to Don to, I guess, to Hardat. Hardat, what's this mean financially for Exhibition Place?
The chair, on a financial basis with minimum guaranteed rent is $3 million, with a possibility of participating rent of $1.7 million for a total of $4.7 million over the 10-year term.
So 4.7 million to us over 10 years, okay. Those are my questions. Speakers? Councillor Holiday?
I'll speak very briefly, Mr. Chair. I'm not going to support this. I will make a comment that I commend staff and the vendor for working, I guess, with staff on this for a comprehensive report, which I find no flaws in. I just have a philosophical different view of what I would like to see our exterior appearance look like from the road. And it's that simple. So I just wanted to make that comment before we vote. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Holiday. Seeing no further speakers, I will move the staff recommendations. All in favor? 1 second here. I can't see. You know, I can't see. I'm sorry. I'm going to ask for recorded votes, right? Because I can't see everybody. So all in favor? Councillor Grimes, Mr. Lickman. Carol, can you see else has got their hand up?
Yes.
Carol, I can't see. Can you do a recorded vote, Carol? Sorry.
I'll call the recorded vote, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
All those in favor of the motion to adopt, Councillor Cressy?
Opposed?
Peter Leon?
Yes?
Councillor Holiday?
Opposed, Madam Clerk.
Opposed? Howard Lickman?
For?
In favor?
In
Paula?
favor?
Thank you. Paula Oliveira?
In favor.
In favor? Councillor Perruzza?
In favor.
And Mr. Chair?
In favor.
That's 5 in favor and 2 against. The motion carries.
Thank you. Moving right along, 13.5, Exhibition Place Hotel X Phase 2. So we've got a letter from Hotel X to Don Boyle. They want to exercise the right for the second phase. That's correct?
That is correct.
If you may just give a quick comment on that, Don. So they've had the right to build the second hotel for, you may just go through the details quickly for the members of the board.
Mr. Chair, yeah, when the Phase 1 hotel development was taking place, council at that time approved their right to the Phase 2 land, so this is already approved. The only thing that has to come back to the board and City Council will be the new negotiated terms on the financial deal and any other terms and conditions related to hotel amenities. Yeah.
Okay, and I think Create TO will be involved in the negotiations, is that correct?
Yes, thank you.
Right. All righty. I have a motion. Was there any further questions of staff on this one? Seeing none. Carol, if you could put my motion on the screen. Yeah, so the Chief Executive Officer, Exhibition Place, commenced discussions with the City of Toronto corporate real estate, management staff at Hotel X. Representatives start negotiations on Phase 2 development and report back to the board on A, the results of the discussions, B, terms and conditions for the development, including design concept, C, an overview of the proposed process, and D, how to develop will take place in consideration for the recent Exhibition Place master plan. So I've asked Don to draft this motion for me. We could send to Hotel X our master plan, which is just freshly inked, that it does fit into our master plan. I think it's great they're exercising Phase 2. I think the Phase 1 was really starting to take off before COVID came, but everybody I've talked to just loves the hotel. It's if you haven't been in it, I'd love to take you through it. So I think this is a great step forward for Exhibition Place when Hotel X exercise Phase 2. So it'll be a long, lengthy process, but I just think it's important that we keep kept up as a board, because Create 2 will kind of be leading the discussions on the deal, but I want to make sure our board is engaged, and I want to make sure they are considering our master plan. So with that, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, 13.6, Exhibition Place Management Report, second quarter 2020. Mr. Leon, you held the item.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I've just a question of staff.
Yep.
Question of staff. Has the monitoring the sick days brought any matters of interest for management, particularly reference to page 3 on the report?
Sick days, yeah.
The average sick days at the bottom of page 3? And I'm just asking the question, has the monitoring of sick days brought any particular interest for management? Referring mostly to item 4.
Yeah, through you, through the chair. The sick time policy is one actually we're in the midst of reviewing. We adopted the policy that was put forward by the City of Toronto, in which you're on your 4th occurrence, you were not paid for your first day of sick time. And what we've experienced, and we're doing an evaluation of it right now, an analysis, is that our sick time, because on that 4th occurrence, we're seeing an uptake in sick days in those first days. And now with COVID, and wanting to ensure that staff, if they have any symptoms, are staying home and not necessarily worry about occurrences, we're looking at that as well. And so it's an area that we have in our strategic objectives moving forward, of putting emphasis on as we move forward, because I'm not convinced that the current policy is in the best interest of Exhibition Place.
Don, thank you very much. I'm pleased to hear that you're looking at that, and that was what I was concerned about also. So if you're following it up, we'll await to hear something from you at a later date, okay?
Thank you.
Other than that, Mr. Chairman, I'm pleased with the report, and if no one has any questions, I'm pleased to move it.
Okay, any further questions of staff? Speakers? Seeing none, Mr. Leon is moving the recommendations. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 13.8. Bear with me. 2020 operating budget financial impact update due to COVID-19.
Fine, Chair.
Deputy Mayor Hall, do you held the item? Questions of staff?
Thank you. Just a brief one similar to my prior. Could I take it as understood by management or understood of the request? I understand this is a setup report for a future one, which will be far more in depth, that will talk about our finances around COVID. And I expect that it will probably relate to our tenants and many of our major show customers, and talk about revenues and those sorts of things. And I guess my request in the form of a question is, could you err on the side of more information for the board members and just help us remind us of the terms of the various leases when you're talking about tenants, their history here on the site. And same thing for the major shows, how often they've been here, are they new, are they, recurring events, and maybe some of the terms of those contracts. I don't know if I'd go so far as to suggest a presentation so that we get a bird's eye view of all of our business. But if you are preparing a report, if you could elaborate a little bit more on the context. Again, I think these are complex discussions, and it seemed to me as a board member, a little bit more information than less would be helpful for us to do what we need to do.
Yeah, through the chair, we will certainly do that. I think one of our greatest challenges right now is with tenants on the show aspect of it. Force majeure, we've in fact not charged anybody for any of those services. We forgo the $3.9 million licensing fee to the CNAE. Within theirs, and obviously they had no cost to serve for services. And so that took place. And for any of our other shows, the home show from last March was most unfortunate incident. We only charged for the actual usage of the facility and the cost that we actually absorbed. And in fact, we gave back the commissions that we received on some of the services that they had received at that time. And so from that aspect, it's really the tenants, that long-term tenants that, and we're working with City Real Estate. At this point, City of Real Estate has provided a deferment of rent for April, May, and June, and I think they've now extended it to October. But there's no firm decision on whether that, at this point, it's deferment and not abatement, not forgiveness. And in many of these operations, as you're well aware, QE Theatre, Liberty Grand, Toronto Event Center, these establishments are essentially closed. They have no opportunity due to the legislated limitations on their businesses. And so they are paying their utilities, and they continue to pay their taxes, and they continue to maintain their facilities. But on the rent side of things, and as we did a straw vote at one point in time through the chair, seeking support of our members to see if there was an opportunity for forgiveness of that rent. The city has not made any decision on that, and obviously many different departments and agencies are involved, and so we're awaiting that. But we'll bring you back a comprehensive report. My personal sense of it is that it's a very tough thing to be able to ask these operators that are in businesses that are on the brink, given they have no idea of timing. In fact, we're thinking maybe second quarter of 2021 for some of these businesses to resume. The thought that they could pay the rent that when their facilities have been closed and continue doing business would be very, very difficult. So we'll see where the city comes with that. We've made that loud and clear to City Real Estate Services, our viewpoint on it. They seem to be understanding and of that, but we'll see what that final decision is, and we're awaiting that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any further questions to staff?
Yes, I've got a question. Does the rent subsidy apply to us, from a commercial rent perspective, where the government chips in?
No, we're not eligible for the rent subsidy, and we're also not eligible for the staff subsidy. And so we provided just over, I think 800, not just over, we provided 827 records of employment for staff we laid off through this, and we're not eligible for any wage supplements or tenant lease payments.
Howard, you good?
Yes, thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, Deputy Mayor Holiday, you prepared to move the item?
So moved, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Deputy Holiday moves the item. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 13.9, Management and Non-Union Employees Benefits Plan Amendments. Mr. Leon, you held the item. Questions of staff?
I did. Thank you very much. In researching some of this out for the report, I took a look at the definition of a dependent, and this will relate directly to my question, Mr. Chairman. A dependent is defined as a person dependent on another, like a son or a daughter or a wife. So as I went through this report, I noticed that the orthotics benefit says 3 pairs per dependent for orthotic shoes or orthotics. Orthotic shoes are very expensive. And the way I read this, a dependent of one of our employees is able to order either 3 shoes or 3 orthotics a year. And that to me seems excessive indeed. So I'd like to ask staff's opinion on what their thoughts are on this particular benefit. I'm not trying to stop it. I'm just trying to get it clarified. As I understand, 3 pairs are entitled for a pair of shoes or orthotics. Generally, you order 1 every couple of years in that area.
Through the chair, this exhibition place benefits plan is a plan that was just recently adopted by Toronto City Council, and we have the same provider, and we're suggesting that we adopt the exact same parameters. The authority, these issues used to be unlimited. And so coming down to 3 was a significant decrease from the unlimited that they had issues with. And so you may see this come down again, but it was through negotiations that much of this took place, and this is where they landed.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate that. But 3 is totally, I wear orthotics, so I know what they cost, and I know what orthotic shoes cost. 3 per person per year per dependent is excessive. And I'm wondering if the city's agreed to this, maybe it's something that could be looked at and re-looked at again, or the questions asked appropriately.
Certainly at the city level, no. We can check with our provider whether or not there's any ability for us to be able to make that adjustment within our plan to reduce that number. But at this point in time, it was already approved from an entire city perspective, and so I can look at it.
Yeah.
Don, if we could add, I'd like to use the word, is it excessive? That's all. Not reduced, but is it excessive? And if it comes back appropriately, then we can look at it again. But that just stood out. Otherwise, I think the benefit program is excellent for everybody.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the change and amendment in the benefit plan was approved by City Council recently in July.
Fine.
So, notwithstanding that, given the member concern, we could certainly look into it. One of the reasons that they could get up to 3 per year is because these dependents are under 18 years of age. And below 18 years of age, they're, I guess the term is medically, they change so quickly and so often compared when you're adults. That's why in the past it used to be unlimited, and now it's limited to 3 times per year. Because below 18 years of age, they're still growing, their bone structure is changing all the time. So that was one of the reasons for that.
I thank you through you, Mr. Chairman, to Hardin. I appreciate that, but you know, a pair of orthotics is $500 a pop, okay? And a pair of shoes is close to $1,000. So, and I wear orthotics, I wear both. So if it could be looked at on the question, is it excessive? And if it comes back that way, then we could go back and do it through the city appropriately. But from our point of view as a board, I'm all for the benefits that we're giving to our people, but not where it's excessive. And if this could be looked into and asked of the provider, the service provider, then we could go forward from there. I'd be very grateful.
Okay, I think staff got your direction there. I don't think we need a motion on that.
May I have a suggestion, Mr. Chair?
Deputy Mayor Hawley, question?
Thank you. If I could just build upon Mr. Leon's questions just for clarity. Can staff affirm to me that our benefits will change to provide dependents at large 3 pairs of shoes, or is it dependents under the age of 18? The distinction that we're talking about dependent children.
Thank you.
Those will be 2 different categories. Could I just get some clarity on that?
Thank you. That's good, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Councillor.
Which is 25, right, in school? Yeah, we can look at that. I think dependents, we'll look into it and get back to you. My sense is, there is a limit on age and dependence in qualifying and being a post-secondary education within the plan, but we'll get that information and just send out that to the board members.
Thank you.
If I may have a follow-on question, Mr. Chair, is it my understanding that the intent of this report is to mirror exactly the policies that were put through City Council? So there's no purpose in this to change the definition of dependent from what Council approved for staff versus what the board is going to approve for staff here. I just want to make sure there's a clarity there that it should be one and the same despite whatever the words are in the report, that's the intent.
That is exactly what it is, and for that we achieve that pricing level for our benefits program by adopting the one that mirrors the City of Toronto.
I would support that too.
Well, that's what our program does now.
Okay, seeing no further questions, any speakers? Seeing none, Mr. Leon, you'll move the recommendations?
Yes, I am pleased to do so.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, on to our last item, 1311, multi-year agreement with Green Savory Toronto ULC for Han India Exhibition Place. Mr. Leon, you held the item.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just a clarification, and this is a great project. I'm really happy with it. The last agreement was in 2017. And apart from the added caveat for the strategic plan of Exhibition Place, are there any other changes to the conditions in Appendix A? That's all I wanted to know. It didn't mention that in the report, and I just wanted to have that clarification. There's a number of items in the Appendix A, and are there any further changes other than the one for the master plan?
Through the chair, the one aspect that we are looking at is the build time for the course and reducing that to free up time within the grounds for other services and the coordination of it. And so that's one that we've been pushing really hard and working on. So that's probably the one significant change. Well, not significant,
Which item would that be?
But it's our emphasis on a number of days for building the track. I'm not sure where it speaks to it in there, but it's.
No, that's okay. I think I know where that's going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, Mr. Chairman, there's no changes. I'm more than pleased to approve the report. Recommend recommendations as approved.
Yeah, just a quick note on that before Don's time, and I know Hardat will know, during the Pan Am Games, we asked them to expedite, we moved their dates, and they had to expedite the setup and takedown, which they did pretty well. So that's what Don's pushing towards, and I'm sure they can make those dates. They got Jim Terrio, who is their track supervisor, so to speak. He sets up dates, and I know him well, and he's well respected within the industry, and he knows what he's doing. And I think with a little push from Don, they can get that set up and taken down in a timely fashion. So with that, I'll move the recommendation. All in favor? Opposed? That carries. That's it, Carol?
That's all the business for today, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, have a great weekend. Motion adjourned by Paula. All in favor? Opposed? That
Okay.
carries. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.